And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you came back for more. Folks, you did the right thing because we have a lot more for you. I have an awesome podcaster with me today. He's got a great story. He's got a great podcast. He's all kinds of stuff he's working on in the world. He's going to tell us all about it today. The reason he's going to do that is because this is the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. Our guest, of course, is a podcaster. You guys figured it out before I even said it. I know you cracked the code before you walked in here. You guys are sharp. You're our audience. So I already know you're a step above everybody else. Folks, this is the place where we come together to support each other. And this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So let's get sailing and introduce our guest today. Please welcome to the show, host of the 5 a.m. podcast, Michael Klassen. Michael, how you doing?
Great, delighted to be here. I was checking to make sure that I was indeed great, but yes, great and happy to be here. Life is
I'm
what we make it, and
right. I'm glad the jury's not out on that. You're actually great. We're
yes,
good. Perfect. All right, Michael.
yes,
I tell you what.
absolutely.
Tell our audience who is Michael Clausen and what are you about, brother?
Well, former senior broadcast producer. So I've produced a lot of television over the years. Um, and there was a book once that I read called Loudest Voice in the Room, and it was about the start of cable news networks and how newspapers got left behind. And I, I came into TV at a time where there weren't a lot of jobs in broadcasting, and I wasn't in the right location to work in film. So I persevered. I had two or three jobs, and I would pick up whatever evening shift or weekend shift I could get at a TV station, just to hone my craft and to get to know people in the business. And of course, networking is probably one of the most important things we can do is getting to know other people, pressing the flesh, as they used to say, shake hands, kissing babies and shaking hands, or shaking babies and kissing hands, one of the two. It goes something like that. But that networking was really important. But it actually took 10 years from when I graduated from college, well, 9 years, I guess, to when I actually got my first gig, full time benefits, salary in the business. And so there was a lot of years of that felt like I was going, you know, down a river, the Swanee River, maybe, but just float. I was trying not to be floating. I tried to be very intentional. And so I got into TV. It was a great career. I've done a bunch of other stuff, project management, things like that along the way. But I was, uh, I was, um, I was part of a staff reduction. I was costing a little too much, being one of the senior producers. So I came home, and my wife and I had already had 5am podcast for a number of years. And we were doing blog articles about entrepreneurship, side hustles, and motivational, encouraging things, and some hobbies. Because one of our most watched, most not watched, most read articles on 5ampodcast.com is one my wife did. She used to be a newspaper reporter. So she did one called Digging in the Dirt about gardening. And man, that thing just never fails to disappoint with traction. And anyway, I that's a rabbit trail. Uh,
That's
try
okay.
and keep my fishing lures out of the weeds today. But um, so I came home, and we kind of put our heads together. What are we going to do? And it was just kind of like, you know what? We're going to do the audio visual version of 5am podcast and put some of my broadcasting skills to good use for self-interest in ourselves. So January 15th of 2025 is when we started 5am podcast,
Holy
and it's
cow.
been a blast since then.
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's pretty recent. You've come a
Yeah.
long way in a short time.
Yeah, well, thanks be to God. As has been said, there, but for the grace of God, go I. So, part of the reason that we've been successful, other than divine providence, but I had a publicist that I worked with when I was producing. because the last couple of years of my career, I was actually producing two podcasts that were podcasts, but also on broadcast. And so I got to know one of the publicists that would feed us a lot of guests. But then one Sunday morning, I think it was February the 1st, my wife wakes up and said, this pod match thing you've been looking at, you got to jump on that, man. Like, stop hesitating. So that Sunday, February 1, I believe that was the date. Let me check the calendar. Because authenticity is king. So it's February 1st is the Saturday. So February 2nd, I signed up for Pod Match. And I was just delighted with all the people that I've met, like yourself, Rory.
Well, thanks for that. I appreciate that. It is
Yeah.
quite the service. It really is. Alex has outdone himself.
Mm-hmm. 100% yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So those few things have been so powerful for us
Good, 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 good. Glad to hear
and
that.
just being able to tell stories. Yeah.
Okay. So the 5 a.m. podcast, for those who don't know what it is, and I do love your merch. You got the 5 a.m., podcast cup going.
Hmm.
That's a nice touch. Beautiful.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
what is the
Got
5
it.
a.m.
That's
podcast
right.
about? What's the name about? What brought it about? What made you start that?
Hmm. I love early mornings, and I just find it's so beneficial to be up and at 'em. And my dad, well, I grew up on a farm, so we had to be up early.
Wow.
One of the really important things about life is being responsible and learning responsibility. And so in our home, one of the ways that we learned responsibility was doing chores around the farm and having that understanding that even from, my family was Christian for generations and generations of people that walked in that discipleship of Christianity. So one of the tenets of that we knew was important was we had a responsibility to our livestock, and the animals ate before we did. We had to go do chores. We had to make sure everybody else was fed. Then we could go inside. Then we could have breakfast. Then we could start our day. Then we could go to school. Man, then we'd come home and we'd feed the animals. Like, so the reason that I'm kind of delving into this is because there's a proverb. Uh, the, there's enough proverbs that you could read a chapter in Proverbs every day and of the month, and then start over on the first of the month. The reason I bring that up is because there's a verse in there that talks about essentially a wise man knows the condition of his flocks, and so getting up in the morning early, forcing yourself out of that warm bed, especially on a cold winter day, and realizing I have a responsibility, but this is the foundation. It became the foundation of my day was that I had something to take care of. I had responsibilities. I had promises to keep, so to speak, and then I could look after myself. So that's a big part of where 5 a.m. podcast came from.
Wow. Okay. And I know you created it with your wife. Do you host it with your wife as well?
Yes.
Okay.
No, no, she does all the back ends, yeah, graphics. Yeah.
Okay. She's got the fun
And
part.
she's quite accomplished at that. That's right. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's good. We have a good synergy.
That's excellent. Are you both full
Yeah.
time in the podcast at this point,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
does anybody have an outside job
Well,
or
she has she works does social media. She's a social media coordinator for a company, oil field
uh,
related, oil field kind of design,
okay.
AutoCAD stuff. And so she does all their social media online things. So
Excellent.
and for me, uh I'm able to devote as much time as this to right now as possible. But that only means it's kind of like a duck sitting floating. You think the duck is floating on the water. You don't realize the feet are paddling like crazy under the surface. So that's kind of how I feel.
Right. Oh, unfortunately, I know exactly what you mean. So, yeah,
Yes.
okay. The transition is never easy to go from, part-time podcaster to full-time podcaster.
Oh, yes.
But I admire you for taking that leap of faith.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's
It's
very cool.
definitely that leap of faith, especially having a really a good salary for the industry. And on a Wednesday, have a meeting uh, with people that you meet with all the time, and you just find out it's your last supper. So,
That's how it is anymore. There's no loyalty, from
oh
from the
man,
company to us at all. That's for sure.
I and I gotta tell you, like being a people person, and we spend as much time as we do in the office, you develop those relationships. And to be walked out of an office, like your coworkers have no idea what's going on, and you're like, wow, we were planning on having lunch on Friday, and you can't even like say goodbye, and what a cruel world.
Right.
But it's that absence of trust
Yeah.
and decency, maybe. But yeah,
Yeah. I can't help but notice that, your faith is pretty important, to you in what you're doing, and just in
oh
terms
yeah,
of what you've mentioned, and so
hmm
forth, which I can appreciate very much. And so I wonder, is this something you're feeling called to do at this point, or is this something where you're kind of going, okay, God, what's next? I'm with you. I'm
yeah.
going to take that step. Where are we going?
Yeah, it's definitely a calling. And there's been a few times in my life where I've had to walk really close to the edge of the precipice and just walk in faith and trust. It can be a frightening and scary place, but also at the same time, uh, you just realize that it's just a calling, and everything. God knows the end from the beginning, so we can walk and trust and rest in that. I realize not everyone's in the same place because we all have different experiences, but certainly we it's a verse in the Bible that says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And that word of the testimony, I mean, we're creative beings. We're made by a creator to create. And so our words, we overcome by the word of our testimony. So we need a testimony. We need an experience of, wow, I thought I was going to go over the edge,
Hmm.
but I didn't. Yeah. So very important to me.
Nice, nice. And I love that you're open about it too. It's
Yeah.
in this world that's not the most easy thing to do, but it takes some conviction. And so, good for you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, I've worked with some great people and some horrible people. So
That's
you
fair.
learn. You learn. You just got to tell it like it is, brother.
I'm sure that's fair. All right, that's very cool. All right, so let's see, a couple of things as I was reading about the 5 a.m. podcast and what it's based on and everything else.
Hmm.
You talk about, and since we brought up faith, I feel like it's probably a good time to go into this. But you
Yeah.
talk about purposeful early rising, and you
Yes.
talk about embracing spirituality and the Christian principles for success, and
Hmm.
all of this sort of thing. Um, is it that it all has to do with the 5 a.m., rising early, or is it that that's just a theme in your podcast that you're always kind of going back to?
It's definitely the fuel source and the theme. But those foundational parts of, we think we have a foundation for life. We have a foundation for our intellect. We have a reason to believe. So we have a foundation every morning of what is our intention for the day? What are we expecting that we're going to bring to those around us? And what are we expecting to receive from those around us? And so we definitely want to come across as authentic and intentional that this idea of rising in the morning, it's something that it was taught to us by our parents and previous generations for a reason, practical but also spiritual, because when we can kind of that die to that self, so to speak, of say, I know this bed's comfortable, I know it's cold outside, I can hear the wind coming off the mountains, but you know what? I'm gonna get up because uh we've got something to do. And um so just yeah, there's if I don't if I sleep in, I feel like I've lost the day. We kind of have a joke here that if we're waking up at 7, we've slept in, or 7:30, that's really late. And my good, a coffee's not going to make itself, hun, but uh it's being able to get up and intentionally say, I'm done with the sleeping. And that's kind of a metaphor for life. I talked to this young guy at my church who's in his early 20s, and he just kind of looked a little off that day. And he and I were just chatting. He's got hair down to his belt buckle just about. And we were talking about something, and he made this comment I asked him if he was going to have a restful day or do some video games or something like that after church. And he was like, I've done enough of that. I've rested enough, and I feel like I'm behind the eight ball. And I was like, wow, you're just a young man, but good attitude. And so that whole idea of getting up is that first component of the day. We're dying to the desires of the flesh to stay in bed. And we're going to get up and we've got a routine. And if I don't do the routine, man, I just feel like my day is just not on the right railway tracks.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. No. Um, then you talk about how getting up early is helps to cultivate gratitude and provide an abundant mindset.
Oh,
So
yes.
what's how does that work?
Well, it's good. Some people might think that's a little bit of a stretch, but I feel like it's connected because it is connected to that intentionality and what we have to bring and what we have to bring to others, but also what we have to bring into ourselves. And there's this idea that in our minds anyway, that just like from like an agricultural point of view, there's seed, there's time, and there's harvest. And so we've been seeding, we've been watering, but we never dig up the seed to find out if it's working. It takes a little while to see that seed come that stalk come up out of the ground. And so the reason that we can attach abundance to that is because plants, for example, only know abundance. If they get the right soil, they get the right water, they get the right sunshine, all they know is abundance. And if it's been a drought and they get that rain, so think of that as waking up. Boy, as soon as they get that rain, it's green. I love being in the desert after it's rained. That before and after of it being, it looks dead. But it takes one rain overnight, and all of a sudden it's changed colors and there's beautiful flowers. And so, this abundant mindset and this abundance of I'm going to be intentional about my day, I'm going to get up early, I'm going to say, no, flesh, you've had your chance to sleep. Now we're going to go do something. And we're going to receive blessings and we're going to give blessings and maybe some of the opposite, but we'll try not to give any of the opposite. We just know that we're going to be prepared because we have a routine and we've set our intentions and our day. And yeah, we used to
Okay,
say about our family, when we show up, we take over. So take over
nice,
your day, people.
nice. No, I love that. It's
Yeah.
encouraging. It's motivational. I like that. That's beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of schools of thought on getting up early, but they're all positive, and
That's right.
they all seem to revolve around also, just get going.
Yes.
You're not accomplishing anything with 10 more minutes on the snooze button. Just get up,
No.
get
Yep.
going.
Just do it.
So, all right. Now on your podcast, you do interview episodes. I've seen those.
Correct.
You also
Thank
do
you.
solo episodes.
Um, no, that's on the docket. It's coming. Solo episodes are coming.
Okay,
As of right now, we've only done the interviews.
excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of the guys you've interviewed.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah, yeah,
There's
good
some
people
great
out there.
men and women out there,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
yeah.
But okay, so as you're doing the interviews, then, um, what is the format of your show itself? I get the idea behind it, your meaning behind it,
Yes.
and what your message
Yep.
is. So, how do you handle guests coming on? Do you talk about that subject matter, or are you letting them kind of dictate,
Oh, yes.
what gets discussed? I'm just curious.
No, that's great. So I do a research, and of course, I go back into my old practices from broadcasting. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a writer, and I was sitting at my desk a few years ago and thinking, "Wow, I write every day because I have to research guests." And I still do that now. Let's fast forward to present time, doing the research or finding the people, seeing who's got a good story, who's got some traction online, and who just has something that I know people need to hear about. So it could be an adventurer who's been living with cancer. It could be someone that had some health problems but overcame them. So when we want to be able to share those stories of triumph and testimony, but something that's going to encourage and enlighten someone that you might have some stinking thinking and you might have a 9 to 5 that you can't stand. And this idea is that we find the people, we do the research, I write the questions or type the questions now, of course, and then we get to meet these people and have them tell their stories about what they've been through and how they overcame. And we know that or we believe, I should say, that this is touching people's lives and helping people that change their perspective.
Hmm. Okay, so you're bringing on folks who have overcome things,
Yeah,
stuff
basic,
like that.
a lot of that, and people sharing their success stories
Nice,
of I
nice.
had a goal. We're working on one right now that'll come out on Friday, uh, so the end of May, and it's about somebody who was a nurse, Marcel Coombs, and she had these big goals, and her mentor said, "No, those goals aren't big enough, young lady." And isn't that the great part about meeting other people, even the guests that I have, who could say, "You know what? Don't do it. Keep going." You think of older people, we were having this conversation of there's no retiring, it's just refiring.
It's, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Okay, I mean, in terms of your podcast, you haven't been doing it that long, but it looks like you're doing very, very well with it. What do you do to promote your podcast?
Well, because we're on a little bit of a shoestring budget, we're just um uh yeah, that's an excellent question. So I'll answer that by backing up a little bit. I relied a lot on my broadcast experience and understanding, and then also my wife having her social media experience. And sometimes progress in a corporation with boardrooms and lots of people, it's really hard to innovate and move the needle in a positive direction. I referred back to that book, Loudest Voice in the Room, and it was about the transition from newspaper to cable TV. Well, now and for the last several years, we've been in this transition from cable television to online media. And so for our promotion of what we do, I use the Riverside program. And so that gives us a lot of social media clips. And when we first started, we had the time. We had the guests thanks to Podmatch. So we were doing 3 episodes a week and multiple shorts, which was way too much work for us. So we had to scale it back. Uh, but how we promote is pretty simple. So we do a soundbite. And if you're new to Riverside, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if this other programs like this, but when you look in the show notes, it gives you a bunch of different headings. One of those headings is sound bites. So I copy and paste, pardon me, that sound bite into the search bar in Riverside. And then you can highlight those like 20 seconds worth of copy. And you can hit the little kebab on the side. It says keep only this. And you hit that button and it's only going to export that little, I don't know, 15, 20 second, 30-second soundbite. You export audio only. And then if you have somebody like my wife around, she makes a lovely graphic that's moving with a waveform indicator. And so we put that out with a soundbite. We put out the short, and of course, even with those shorts, you still have to cut out a lot of that fluff so you really get to the meat and potatoes of the conversation. So we have the short. Both of those go out just before the video or the um, Spotify, all that Apple, wherever else people listen to their podcasts. And so we've got this system down where we do one short, one soundbite, and one full conversation. And then right now, we try to drive most of our traffic to YouTube, just because we're building up that audience there.
Okay.
The only paid advertising we've done has been either buying views directly from YouTube or buying so that I don't it's not buying subscribers, but one of the promotions you can do is that YouTube itself actually has a call to action to get subscribers. So those are about the only things we've spent money on. Other than Smarter Q and some of the subscriptions that we can have. So Smarter Q is a program that we use where we can put our soundbite and our social media clip into Smarter Q, and it goes to X and it goes to all the other usual suspects: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those
Excellent.
guys.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So that's our promotion. And man, I would take any advice possible from anybody saying, Michael, you're wrong. You're missing this. Tell me, please, in the comments. Tell me. And it's great to have that engagement and just to learn from others. And like you said at the start of the show, a rising tide raises all boats. One of my favorite sayings, because it's so true.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
true. Yeah.
I love that for sure. When you're starting off and when you're on a shoestring budget, like most of us are, when we're
Yes.
doing this stuff, it's that's all you can do is what you're doing right
Yeah.
now. You're doing a great
Right.
job of it, obviously.
Oh,
You're
thank you.
getting your name out and you're getting
Yeah.
good quality guests. I noticed on your show,
Yes.
also, which is excellent. So
Got to
congrats on that
curate
too.
them.
Yeah,
Yes.
very very cool. But no, I love what you're doing. Now I know again, I know it's been a short time.
Hmm.
Have you had a chance to try to monetize the podcast in any way? I know that you offer an enhanced, SMART goal worksheet type
Oh,
of
yes.
thing. So uh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we're getting into that. We're getting into that because we realize that, there's Patreon, which we don't use. We have Buy Me a Coffee. Um, and so we realize there's a lot of different options, but we know that the number one thing is getting those eyeballs into us. And so we know that we need to provide value. And so, as you and I were talking, and you just kindly mentioned now the enhanced goal worksheet. So that's it's a piece of paper or many pieces of paper at this moment, and on 5ampodcast.com, which we're working at building. We get about 600 unique visitors every day to that website. So it's just learning how to monetize in the best way. And so we've been trying to use that to drive traffic to 5am podcast now that we're doing it. Um, so we want to be able to bring that value to people, and hopefully that will cause other people. We do know that it's kind of a numbers game, and but you've got to have product available. So the smart the I should say the enhanced workbook and discovery journal is going to be about 75 pages. About 20 pages of it is actually going through the SMART goal worksheet. But there's a bunch of other stuff in there. We added accountability to it. We added about how to track your progress and calculate your wins. Um, and so just with goals, when we write them down and make them plain for us, we realized that even though that was our biggest download off of 5ampodcast.com for a number of years, we needed more. And so one of the things that we did is bring in those things of if it's measurable, we can control it. And sometimes we write down a goal or we have our New Year's resolutions, but there's no other framework around it. So our discovery journal and workbook is to put framework around our goals. And there's some coloring pages and Sudoku puzzles and word search and things like that to keep you engaged, and a monthly planner and things to really help people actually succeed at their goals instead of lose interest. My mom would always tell me the novelty is wearing off for you, Michael. And the novelty is worn off, and now I have to go feed the cows. There's work to be done to make those goals.
Gotcha.
So so
I
it's a
understand.
work in progress, and we know we're building something to benefit others as well as ourselves.
That's important. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. All right. All right. So I got to ask my corny question right now.
Yes.
I think we had a good segue here. So, corny question is, when it comes to doing your podcast, what is the thing about it that you love the most, and what is what's the thing that you do that you dislike the most? You really can't stand doing, and you just as soon throw it out the window.
Mm. Well, the thing I love the most is all the people that I meet and get to talk to. yourself and others some really interesting characters and people who I'm just glad that I've gotten to know. And like as you would know, you build these relationships with people. And so, um, thinking back to when I was younger, that that outgoing social butterfly personality and networking was pretty easy for me. And so this, meeting people from like you feel like, wow, when we're traveling, obviously we're going to go to Texas because now I've got three or four guys that I have to go have lunch or breakfast or dinner with. So that's definitely the best part of it. Um, I would say the hard part for me, and I don't hate it. I loved editing when I was younger, working in broadcast. I loved probably because I liked being in the booth, the edit bay, and it was quiet and it was dark and I could get my work done and I could just focus. And so the one thing probably that is a challenge for me and why I need a workbook about setting goals is uh being there's a lot of distractions that come. And so for me, the my hard part is putting those blinders on, and especially from working from home. There's the dog, there's the laundry, there's why don't I get a jump on doing this or that thing? It's like, nope, I gotta get this out. And case in point, so I had there's an economist that I had, Dr. Murray Sabrin, very nice fellow from the Mises Institute, and I love economics. I love numbers and things like that. And of what I did. Well, I loaded it to YouTube and it's short to YouTube. And then I was thinking, that's not showing up on Spotify and Apple. Like, what's going on? Well, it's because Michael got distracted and went and done something else. And it didn't get uploaded to Spotify and Apple until like Tuesday. So, you know,
That happens when you are your own production crew, my friend. Yeah,
that's right.
absolutely.
That's right. I I I went for a smoke break and I did not come back for a few, I got busy doing something else.
I hear you. I hear you. And that you're not alone with that. I got to be honest. If we did this in like a Family Feud setting, top five answers
Yeah.
on the board, right?
Uh-huh.
Number one answer, editing.
Yes.
Everybody
Yeah.
asks that question too. So, promoting and that sort of thing, social media stuff, close
Yes.
second, but man, editing, absolutely number one. End of
Yeah.
story. So,
Yeah, it's the trench full of waist deep mud.
right,
Yes.
exactly. No, I love that. Okay, I'll tell you what. Hmm, I love the way that you've done this. I love the message behind what you're saying. Um, I love the fact you got guests on the podcast. The As you move forward and you start doing, more of the solo episodes, what's your vision for
Mhm.
that? Is it something where you're going to be talking to your wife, or you're going to be just, waxing on yourself about, hey, this is, what I think? What's your vision for that, for the solo part of it?
Yeah. Well, I there was this elderly gentleman I met a long time ago, probably 20 years ago. He's gone. He was an artist, craftsman, good guy. Not everybody liked him, but I have that personality where I can get along with a lot of different people. And I was emceeing this event of woodworkers, and he made this joke to me later. It's easy to talk when you love the sound of your own voice. And so the part of doing the solo episodes is more just to maybe more of a mindset training point of view, because we have all these great conversations of people that are they're overcoming, or they've followed their goals through, they've been a great success, or they've had 27 and a half hiccups along the way that they did not see, and they've had to call audibles, but yet we're talking and we find out that their road that they followed got them eventually to where they want to be. So the solo episodes would actually be about engaging the audience of how we actually put some feet personally, and some personal labor to what we want to accomplish, or to the stories that we've heard. So that whole idea of driving traffic, the kind of the premise or the our text script for that solo episode would actually be talking about who's coming up or who we've just had on, what we talked about, and then some practical tips where people could actually have some come away from that 25 or 30 minutes with some actionable items.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, the last question I usually have for folks on this, as we kind of wrap things up here on the
Yeah.
Podcaster Nation, talking to this awesome
Yes.
podcaster,
Thank
is
you.
what is your best piece of advice? And I know you've only been doing it a short time, but you've learned a lot. You've already come a long way in a
Mm,
very short period of time. So again, congratulations.
thank you.
But as you look at this, and what is your best piece of advice to a podcaster who's out there who is not
Yes.
quite where you are yet?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, two things, and they walk together: persistence and diligence. They're kind of the same, but that persistence and I don't know, maybe diligence is too similar of a word to persistence, but it's kind of like we hear that mercy and grace always walks together, but that being diligent and being persistent. Because diligence is like your daily routine. I'm getting up, I'm doing this. I've written my vision down and I'm following the script that I've made for myself. That's the diligence. That's like the actionable things of I'm going to keep doing this. The persistence part comes in like the older sibling that's been left in charge of the younger ones who cracks the whip and says, "You need to be diligent right now."
Hmm.
And you have to keep knocking at the doors to see which one opens. The persistence, I suppose, is the one that gets you in the door. The diligence is the one that keeps you in the door or keeps you in the room, right? So
All right.
yeah, keep knocking, keep seeking, keep asking,
I love
and
it.
walking forward. Yeah.
I love it. It's your intent to continue being full time at this, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. No, I love it when podcasters are able to make that leap, and I love
Hmm.
watching it work. So,
Yeah.
brother, I'm rooting for you 100%,
Thank you.
and I think you're off to a great start. And it sounds like you're probably gonna be doing this a year from now and 2 years
Oh,
from now. So that's
100%. Yes.
just
Yeah.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, man. All right, we need more people like you out there doing podcasts.
Hmm.
From the heart, and with your belief system and everything else. I think I'm pretty sure you're going to make it out there. So, thank you for coming on the show, man, and just telling everybody
Thank
a
you.
little bit about
I'll take
you,
it.
and about your
Hmm.
podcast and whatnot. It's been great getting to know you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I appreciate that we connected on Pod Match and we're able to see each other across the interwebs and have a great conversation. I
Beautiful.
appreciate it.
Beautiful. All right, sir. All right. So, hey, folks, the host of the 5 a.m. podcast, Michael Klassen. Michael, thank you for being here today, brother.
My pleasure. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
Folks, this has been another awesome episode of the Podcaster Nation. Go check this guy out. Go hear what he's about. Go listen to his podcast, the 5 a.m. podcast. You will not be sorry. I have checked out several of them, and he's got a great way he does it. He's got a great way about him. He's coming at it from a great perspective, and he's doing it for all the right reasons. Folks, you're going to love it. So go check out his show. This is the place that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters. It's done by podcasters. This is truly the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing.